Hello, my name is Ellie Sales. I live in Palmer's Green and I have done so for most of my life. I went to school at Osage in Southgate and then from there went on to Ashmole.
That's lovely, so 2 local schools. What was your first job, Ellie?
When I left school I actually trained to be a dog groomer. Not many people know that. My mum set me up in my own business in our home in Southgate, but it wasn't long before I realised that I was a real people's person. So I wanted to, find another job where I could interact with people on a daily basis. So I went to Reed Employment, which I think at the time was in Enfield, and I started working in a company in New Southgate called Disc Distribution, which were a DVD distribution house.
And how did you get into writing and magazine production?
When I originally started, I was just doing telesales and stuff like that. We're talking a lot of years ago now. But I moved up for the company, working as a PA, and then we did have a brochure that we produced. We outsourced it, and it included all the products that we sold, and then we would ship that brochure out to H&V and Virgin and things like that. And it was something that I was really interested in because I always liked art at school, and I thought, I reckon I could do this in-house. So the company brought the programme and I self-taught myself how to produce the magazine, which included laying out artwork, filling in little synopsises of the product, and so that's how I became interested in doing things like magazine work. But it was very self-taught, so it wasn't terribly in depth. But over the years, I've managed to progress on things like Photoshop and InDesign. But again, it's all been self-taught over the years.
Amazing. You do a lot of voluntary work locally, don't you, Ellie?
Yes. What happened was when I stopped, I had a career break when I had my first child, Oliver, who's now nearly 10. And it wasn't until Oliver started at Hazelwood School that I then felt, I'm ready now to start doing something or getting a bit more involved. And I always thought I would get involved in the school PTA, so my volunteering started via the PTA. So for the last 4 years I've chaired the Hazelwood PTA, and then from there and through working at Anthony Webb and meeting people through the magazine, I've come across lots of different local charities or action groups that I've thought, they could do with a hand here or there, and it kind of encourages me to put my hand up and put myself forward. So I do help Woodcroft Wild Space in N21, which is a really...
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a lovely little natural habitat, really. And it's maintained by volunteers, people that have full-time jobs but go down on their spare time. They've got little orchards there, bees, they've got some bees, they've got ponds, and they invite local schools in to use the facilities there to do pond dipping. So they're also always looking for volunteers, but I run their Facebook page for them, along with some other people that help out there. You can have as many administrators as you like on Facebook, so when someone expresses an interest, they can be added as an administrator, and the more people that keep updating things like volunteer sites, the more the news spreads out about what people are doing. On a Monday in the morning, I also help my sister Katie. She runs the St Monica's Play Group, which is up at the Parish Centre on Cannon Hill. It's been running for 40 years. It was originally established by the church, although now it's not a stipulation that you have to be a parishioner. There's plenty of mums from around the area that come up. It's very cheap, it's £1.50. My sister organises getting out all the toys and the teas and the coffees, and at the end of the group I always read a story and sing with the children. So it really is, it's lovely in the summer as well because they've got a lovely garden up there, so you can open the doors and let the kids run around.
How do you think you've changed fundraising events at Hazelwood?
I think Hazelwood has always had an excellent school community because of the nature of the fact that it is the main primary school in Palmer's Green. So they always had support, but I think having a new injection of people coming in enables you to develop new ideas. And I've always liked organisation and organising events. So we've introduced some new events, like I've done the pop-up restaurant there, which was, we had some parents at school that were professional chefs, and we had 100 diners come in for a 3-course meal, most of them parents, but all of our events are open to the community as well. So we've continued to run the comedy nights at Hipsa, And I think the main difference is on our big events, like the large fundraising events, which is Christmas and the Summer Fete, in the past, as a charity, HIPSA, which is the Hazelwood Parent Staff Association, run as a charity. So although we are obviously linked to the school, we are independent. And in the past, we never actually spent money on events. We were always trying to get everything for free, which is understandable. But what we've realised now is that by investing in, for instance, a large attraction, whether it be a petting zoo or reindeers, although you're outlaying money, you're giving the children something that they wouldn't necessarily see in Palmer's Green. So the attendance to your events are better. So I always feel now that it is very much important that we raise money, but it's also about giving back and making sure that the kids can experience something that they wouldn't necessarily normally have the opportunity to experience.
How did you start working with Palmer's Green and Southgate Life?
When I started working at the PTA in Hazelwood, Anthony Webb have always supported the school since they've been running for 16 years now. So as my role as PTA chair, I went in to negotiate a good sponsorship deal with Tony, the director at Anthony Webb. And it took probably about a year. I was reluctant to kind of say, I do did have experience in magazine work, but he was at the very early stages of producing the magazine, which was a great idea, but it could look better, let's put it that way. So then he realised as well, as a company, running a company, you don't have enough time to devote to marketing something where it's so bespoke like the magazine, which it is. So he asked me to take over, would I like to outsource it to me as a contractor. And at the time I still have very young children that are 3 and 5. So at the time I still had a young baby, because I've been doing the magazine just over 2 years now. But I did take it on, and it was more than Tony said it would be, i.e. the amount of work. But if you actually look back over the last 2 years, the magazine has come on leaps and bounds, not only in its design, but also in its content. And being able to outreach to people in the community, not necessarily just Palmer's Green. For instance, this month we've included a charity, Enfield Transport, which covers the whole of Enfield. But I bump into people, and you would never know these charities exist. So putting them in the magazine, I think, gives them a voice, because the local paper is great, but there's so much information and it's so broad, you'll miss things like that. So people, again, most of these charities have got volunteers involved, and they're all trying to raise awareness, and that's something that Palmer's Green Life gives people the opportunity to do. Not just for charities, because we do have advertising, so local business have the opportunity, because it is so bespoke to this area. We do cover N13 and parts of the Lakes Estate, so it's all around the shop, but it's very localised, so it's targeted advertising for anyone who's producing or delivering a service in Palmer's Green. I think advertising as a whole is very hard to measure, return on where and how you advertise. But yeah, I know things, for instance, like the restaurant reviews that we do. I know restaurants have definitely seen an uplift. More recently, we did that Sushi Inn, and she's really, really happy. In fact, she's blown up the article to A2 and it's stuck on her wall. And, it is hard, I think, running a business now, especially on our high street, but on lots of local high streets. So if it gives people the opportunity at relatively low cost, our advertising is, because Anthony Webb subsidised the production of the magazine, because it's also part of our brand awareness. So I think it's a great opportunity for businesses if they're looking to raise awareness, because not everyone uses the internet. At the minute, I'm finding juggling work and kids and school and everything else quite difficult, but I hope that when Emma goes to school, which is in September, I'll have a bit more time on my hands. But currently I do contract out to other companies, some of which I've come across through the magazine, such as Scott's Travel, so I help them with their marketing and their social media, stuff like that. I really enjoy doing, especially if I can see they're a very niche market, travel agent. I remember going in at the beginning thinking, who's going to book with a travel agent these days? And it's not till you really get in there and you realise that there is a market for this for a travel agent, it's so bespoke and travel, and people just don't have the time nowadays to research for hours and hours, or maybe they do have the time, but you know what you're going to get at the end of the day with a travel agent. So I work with them. I work for other ad hocly when people request artwork, imaging, stuff like that. I can help, but a lot of the time I volunteer, volunteer to help people, especially start-up companies, mums at school who are starting up, stuff like that.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Ellie.